couple months ago, I bought this, the new GoPro Hero 11. I started running it in the Lone Ranger's recommended setup, and that works pretty good and kind of looks like this. Since then, I found a significant tweak and tried a ton of different setups, and now my footage looks like this. So I've been posting GoPro videos here on my YouTube channel since like 2017 or so, and it's been predominantly videos using a contraption like this, the GoPro Karma Grip. This is a gimbal which mechanically keeps the horizon level. Now that gimbal-mounted Hero 7 is currently my benchmark for the best possible picture while using a GoPro. This is my Hero 7 setup that I still use quite a bit to this day. This thing has a few advantages and a few big disadvantages. The footage is indeed super stable, which is great. It also factors into something really important. We're here in the Pacific Northwest, where it rains about 13 months out of the year, and it's super dark in the forest. We're coastal, so we've got big, thick tree canopy overhead. There's not much light. When your GoPro camera is being stabilized pretty well, but not perfectly, by the Karma Grip, it doesn't have to use any internal stabilization, and that in turn results in a much better picture than if the camera is having to do stabilization work itself. And there's a few reasons for that we'll get into in a minute here. Now the downside to a Karma Grip, you gotta buy one, they're discontinued now. It's absolutely massive. So I'm gonna wear this thing on my chest mount here, watch this. Gotta get all the things on. But then when I'm riding, it starts bouncing around quite a bit, and it starts hitting me in the nuts. If I wear a full face, it'll hit me in the chin bar, it'll hit the handlebar on occasion, the stem, so it's not ideal. The Karma Grip's been good, they're discontinued now. I do break them on occasion. I'm probably on like number 4 or something like that after all these years. So the big question, can the little Hero 11 be fully comparable to this gimbal-mounted Hero 7? I'll tell you straight up that in the sunlight, yes, the Hero 11 is amazing, and the stabilization is indeed as good, if not better, than the gimbal. However, that all changes once we get into the forest. Right away, you can see that there's quite a few more micro jitters with the Hero 11 footage on the right side of the screen. Also, the color isn't very good because I didn't use the flat profile. That's on me. I figured out a way to get the Hero 11 to be almost as good as the Hero 7. Now I've got a few little tweaks to my setup and my footage looks way better. Here's an example. Before we get into the rest of the video, I want to give you a quick heads up. I am not supported or sponsored by GoPro in any shape or form. That said, I do have a few really cool sponsors. So Jensen USA is a leading online mountain bike retailer here in the United States of America, and I've got a link to Jensen in the description below. Anything you purchase over there will help support my channel. I'm also supported by P&W Components and Industry 9. Beyond that, I post really cool riding tutorials every month only on my Patreon page. There's over 40 of them currently up there, and I put quite a bit of effort into them. If you want to check out those riding tutorials, they could also be a great gift for a loved one, so please explore those options down in the YouTube description just below, and let's get into the rest of the video. So before we dive into how to make the Hero 11 as good as this Hero 7, we got to talk about a few concepts. First up is field of view. That's the angle of vision you basically got through the thing. It's how wide your lens is. So generally, if you have a narrow field of view, you can see quite a bit, and it kind of looks more stable because there's less leverage between you and the world, and your brain can make up for all those micro jitters because it sees the big pictures. A wide field of view, you can figure out what you're looking at and it all makes sense. And that's a good way of hiding any kind of bounces or whatnot, is going to a wider field of view. You can contrast that to a much narrower field of view, and it's way harder to figure out what I'm looking at. You don't have as much of a picture. Everything's getting jerked around effectively a little bit more. This is a much longer field of view than something, you know, a third the length or whatever. One other aspect of the wide field of view that I really like is you can see more of what's happening. On a mountain bike, that means you can see the bike itself pulling into wheelies, dropping into corners. You can see the handlebars. If it's wide enough, the handlebars look like handlebars and not like a bent pretzel or like a floppy sausage or whatever. So I'm a fan of that super view style field of view. According to GoPro, the Hero 7 has a 118-degree field of view when used in super view with no digital stabilization, no hyper smooth, none of that. So when we run the Hero 11 in the auto maximum boost stabilization mode, you end up with a 113-degree field of view. That's pretty good, but this guy still runs a 118-degree field of view. So we got 5 degrees wider. And to me, that makes a surprisingly noticeable difference. Earlier footage had the Hero 11 mounted to a full-face chin bar. Now let's go over to just chest mounts for both units. Here's the Hero 7 on the gimbal, and you can see the handlebar looks like a handlebar.
Aren't better than
now we go over to the Hero 11, and the handlebar is actually pretty similar. There is a bit of a difference, and when I pull closer to the bars, it does get out of frame much more quickly. So with what I've experienced in the past, trying to run the Hero 7 with the internal stabilization, realizing that it shortens your field of view, I thought, hey, I should at least try this max lens mod for the GoPro Hero 11 and see what 139-degree field of view looks like. Because you can make up for lower stabilization with a wider field of view. So I threw this on my Hero 11, found out it only films in 2.7K, and found out that it actually turns off the stabilizing or just has a terrible effect when you get in the dark forest. So right now we're running the max lens mod, still with the max video setting, but I've turned off stabilization. At least it's max stabilization. It's the only option we have. That's a big jump right there that I'm not gonna clear today. So there's only one setting for stabilization with the max lens mod, and my hypothesis is it's auto boost, which means it actually turns off when it gets pretty dark. It also really changes the angle of the handlebars and make them look like a soggy pretzel after a week of sitting outside. In the name of science, here's a run with the stabilization turned off, but with the max lens mod on. I can actually watch this and tell what's going on, but I would never want to publish this and force all of you to watch 12 minutes of this kind of footage. So mountain bikers, do not buy the max lens mod. You do not need this. I have no idea who needs this, but clearly it's not you nor me. So way back when the Hero 7 came out, it was the first camera that could actually do internal stabilization that was really good. I've had great success with this camera and also the Hero 8 when riding in, say, Arizona or on super bright jump lines in direct sunlight. Once you get into the forest, that stabilization really starts to struggle. You're also going to deal with the fact that you've got quite a bit of cropping with the digital stabilization of the older models of GoPro. So the Hero 11 has even more advanced digital stabilization, which is great most of the time. Comes right back to where we're located in the Northwest and how dark it is in our trails up here. So where to mount your GoPro? This is more important than you might think. I tried a chin bar mount for the Hero 11. I actually mount it upside down from the upper part of the chin bar so I can set my helmet down on the ground without putting all that stress on the GoPro mount. And it's okay, but this also factors into your riding style. I'm a pretty advanced rider. I've been riding and racing for 25 years or so. So I'm very low to the bike and my head's pretty far forward. So for me, the field of view wasn't really wide enough to make that setup work. I even tried it with the max lens mod and I still don't think that field of view was wide enough from the chin bar to really be that immersive of an experience. Also, you have to wear a full face helmet if you're gonna do that. I rarely wear full faces. I'm usually on multi-use trails with hikers and horseback riders, and it's hard to say hello and chat with people when you've got this huge chin bar in your face. It's hard to drink water. It's just a whole lot of stuff's going on, and when you're riding for 4 hours in the woods covering 20 miles, you don't want to deal with all this stuff. You want a smaller helmet. So I generally do a chest mount. This is actually Seth Bike Hack's chest mount. He gave it to me in North Carolina when I forgot my own personal one, so thank you, Seth. Very simple GoPro one, it's somewhat padded. I have crashed over the bars, landed on my chest with an older GoPro mount, and I was sore for 2 months. So there's quite a bit of risk physically to having a GoPro mounted to you. Yeah, you're taking your life into your own hands as soon as you mount up a camera. For me personally, with my open face helmets, I don't want to deal with a GoPro up top. That's too far away from the action. It also is a lot of weight bouncing around on your head. I don't like it for a ton of reasons. I prefer the chest mount. It's more immersive. You can see what's going on with the bike. For my riding style with lots of wheelies, that looks fun and it's all about fun. So at this point in the video, I want to ask all of you, which angle do you prefer to watch mountain biking from? Do you prefer from the chin bar? Do you prefer from the top of the helmet? I don't even have an example of that. Or do you prefer from the chest mount? And then we could also ask you, because that would be appropriate here, do you prefer chest mount Hero 11 with it moving back and forth from the horizon, moving around, or do you prefer the gimbal effect? Let me know in the comments down below. Personally, I prefer the gimbal effect because to me, that's in my mind's eye when I think about mountain biking, that's the closest to what it looks like to me in real life. So let's cut to the chase. What is the setting I found for my Hero 11? Well, it's very close to the Lone Ranger setting with a couple minor tweaks. So I'm running 4K, 24 frames per second. I'm using that super view, field of view. I think that's very important. And then for the actual stabilization, I'm not running Hypersmooth Boost. I'm not running auto. I've tried both of those. They're too bouncy. Go all the way down to just plain Hypersmooth. If you're gonna have any kind of forest riding, plain Hypersmooth creates a much better picture, in my opinion, than the fancier modes. When it comes to color, I'm running the Pro Tune setting in the 10-bit color. I've got the EV comp set to -0.5, keeps the highlights from getting too blown out. I've got the ISO limited to 1600, which, yeah, if you're in the dark that much, might as well capture something rather than nothing. I found that 5500K white balance is really good. And then when it comes to color profile, the natural is pretty bad if you're in the forest. You want to go to the flat color profile. It makes a significant improvement to your footage than using the natural. You'll need to bump up saturation and all that, but that's a video for like Peter McKinnon or someone famous to talk about, not me. I am really excited by the Hero 11. The battery lasts like a solid 45 minutes, maybe even longer. Yeah, that alone makes it much better. It's super heavy, so you got to deal with that. It's a chunk, whereas this is like no big deal. So that's a bit of a drawback. I bought this thing so I could do cool time lapses, and for all the moto vlogging I do, I wanted to have something more reliable. I've been using a Hero 8 chin bar mounted for my motorcycle stuff, and that's been good, but the battery is so small, it constantly dies. Needs plugged in via USB-C through the media mod, and that does work, but it crashes. And if your GoPro crashes, you have to pull over, take off your gloves, unclip your GoPro, undo the bolt, pop open the battery compartment, take out the battery, stick it back in, put everything back together, and then hope when you hit the quick capture button that it actually turns on. There are so many cool shots I have missed out there from GoPros that are not responding or that are locked up and jammed. So yeah, bugs. This new one should be insect free. And it has been pretty good so far. So if you guys found this video helpful, please let me know in the comments down below. Consider hitting that red subscribe button. I post mountain bike content usually about once a week or so, and I'd really appreciate to have you all along for the ride. Without anything more, thank you so much. Peace and wheelies. I'll see you in the next video. Thanks everyone.